It seems strange. Smart, successful, educated people, scholars, executives, entrepreneurs. Yet they still fall for manipulation. How is that possible? If someone is perceptive and rational, shouldn't they see tricks a mile off? But psychology shows intelligence isn't a shield. Sometimes it even makes you more vulnerable. One key idea is dysrationalia, a term psychologists use to describe when someone has high intelligence but lacks rational thinking habits. In other words, having an excellent IQ doesn't guarantee that you think logically under pressure, spot biased reasoning, or question your assumptions. Smart minds can still fall into reasoning traps and emotional blind spots, especially under stress or emotional urgency. Another factor is confirmation bias. When you're confident in your knowledge or beliefs, you tend to look for information that supports what you already think and ignore anything that contradicts it. Even intelligent people fall into strong patterns of wanting to confirm their views rather than challenge them. It's not a failure of intelligence, it's a failure of active open-mindedness. That helps explain why even educated people can be pulled into scams or ideological traps. They're seeing what they expect, not what's real. Closely related is anchoring bias. Once you hear a number or claim, no matter how arbitrary, it sets the tone for your decisions. Even if your brain knows better, that first value sticks. Studies show anchoring can remain powerful even after thinking and reflection, especially when people fail to adjust properly. Intelligence doesn't offer immunity here. Then there's authority bias, the tendency to trust experts or authority figures too much. Smart people often respect credentials, degrees, titles. They may let their guard down in front of perceived authority, especially when the person presenting seems knowledgeable. That trust shortcut can backfire when the authority is misleading or manipulative. Plus, our natural truth bias. We want to believe others are honest, especially when someone is friendly or presents themselves well. Our default is to trust. That makes sense socially, but it also opens the door to deception. Even smart people expect sincerity, and that default trust can be taken advantage of. And emotional trickery is powerful. Manipulators exploit fear, urgency, guilt, empathy, emotions that cloud reason. When strong feelings take over, you stop thinking clearly. Smart people are also human. They can react emotionally and drop their logic in moments of stress or crisis. Sometimes ambition itself becomes a trap. When you'll do almost anything to advance, especially if you admire or need someone, you're more likely to accept subtle manipulation when it promises gain or approval. Highly conscientious and goal-driven people can be targeted because they're eager to succeed, and manipulators exploit that motive. Another dimension, emotionally intelligent people may be easier to manipulate. That sounds odd. How can emotional insight backfire? But if you can read feelings well, manipulators can use that against you. They know how to win your trust or provoke sympathy, then pull the emotional strings. Your emotional openness becomes a vulnerability. In group or team settings, intelligent people can also be influenced by social proof or authority. If everyone agrees or experts endorse something, even a smart thinker may go along with the group rather than break rank. The desire to belong and not be the lone dissenter can weaken rational judgment. Real-life examples help. Consider a talented professional who gets pulled into a pyramid scheme, not because they lack intelligence, but because they hear cherry-picked success stories, see authoritative endorsements, and feel FOMO. They suspend critical thinking in favor of hope. Or a university dean who falls for false data because the report came from a respected colleague. Authority plus specificity equals believability. Smart people also overestimate their immunity. That's part of the overconfidence effect, believing they are less likely to be deceived than others. That gives manipulators a foot in the door. Smart people let guard down because they think, I know their tricks. But confidence doesn't replace skepticism. In emotional or romantic settings, manipulators often target people who show loyalty or commitment. Intelligent, caring individuals invest deeply, and manipulators exploit that trust. They paint themselves as misunderstood or broken, evoking sympathy. The caring person turns empathy into an opening, overthinking the relationship, analyzing motives. They end up reinforcing the very conflict they try to escape. So, why smart people fall for manipulation is not lack of brain power, but predictable vulnerabilities, emotional reactivity, confirmation bias, authority bias, truth bias, ambition-driven urgency, overconfidence, and empathetic openness. All these work despite or because of intelligence. How can one guard against this? There are strategies smart thinkers can use. First, cultivate rational thinking habits. Actively challenge your beliefs. Play devil's advocate with yourself. Avoid automatic agreement with your preconceptions. This counters confirmation bias. Question convenient narratives, especially when they align too neatly with your hopes. Second, slow down under emotional pressure. When someone pushes urgency, fear, guilt, or flattery, pause. Even a minute to breathe and reflect can help your logical brain catch up. Recognize emotional triggers and ask, is this situation really urgent, or do they want you to override reason? Third, stay wary of authority bias. Respect credentials, but don't let them close doubt. Always ask for evidence, independent sources, or verification, whatever the source claims. Even experts can mislead or be mistaken. Fourth, practice skepticism toward flattering praise or loyalty plays. If someone tries too hard to prove how loyal they are or who they are, take note. That pattern often signals manipulation, especially when it's inconsistent with past behavior. Fifth, expose yourself to disconfirming opinions. If everyone around you agrees, find one dissenting voice. That helps break the echo chamber and opens possibilities you might have ignored. Sixth, admit you can be fooled. Overconfidence is a liability. Smart people who acknowledge their blind spots become more immune. If you catch yourself thinking, "not me," that's a red flag. Finally, build a support system. Talk ideas through with trusted people. Two critical thinkers countering emotional stories together are harder to manipulate than one isolated brain. Ultimately, smart people fall for manipulation not because they're stupid, but because manipulation exploits human patterns, not intellectual ones. Even the cleverest mind can be cornered when fear, urgency, reciprocity, authority, and empathy are weaponized. But intelligence, combined with meta-awareness, knowing your mental habits and emotional triggers, makes a real defense. When smart minds learn not just facts, but thinking processes, they immunize themselves from deception. So remember, being smart isn't enough. You need to be wise too. Wise enough to slow down, question comfortable narratives, spot emotional hooks, challenge authority politely, value evidence over trust, and hold space away from group consensus. Because the smartest people remain vulnerable, not to ignorance, but to illusions they themselves help build. And escaping those illusions begins when you treat your own thinking, your emotional and cognitive reflexes, with the same scrutiny you bring to the outside world.